Hey, welcome back to Daily Justice. Our topic today is when and how step-parents in Washington can obtain custody rights. My guest is Mark Hodgson, family law attorney here in Spokane, Washington. Mark, under what circumstances is this possible?
Generally, like if you look at what a step-parent is it really depends on the involvement of the step-parent, right? So for instance, if you came into a child's life and they're 15 years old and there's no crisis in the home and the biological parent certainly is not in crisis, I would say there's next to no chance of getting any custody rights whatsoever under those circumstances. It would depend on your role in the child's life. So if you were just some guy who maybe later in life ended up in a marriage where there's a stepchild, then one, you're not going to end up paying child support, and number two, you're probably not going to get custody. But that's not really the end of the inquiry, because you have children that, like, oftentimes a step-parent will be their only mother, their only father figure. That's all they have, is like the step-parent will come in when the child's 1, 2 years old, and they're, for all intents and purposes, dad. And so if the other parent isn't involved, so one of the things you could do is adopt. We do that quite frequently through agreed adoptions, because that actually gets rid of the child support obligation. So, you know, you could say, look, I'll take care of your kid, I'll be dad or I'll be mom, and you can just go. You haven't seen this kid in 10 years, go with God and we'll adopt. But then there's also the other thing of, like, well, let's say you've been with this kid since they're 2, they're 12, you're the only dad they've ever known. You know, mom or dad says, hey, I'm taking my kid and I'm going down the road, you know, get out of my life. There is what's called a de facto parentage statute in Washington state that allows you to pursue rights as a parent because you're placed into that role.
So this de facto percentage, how does a step-parent prove that?
Well, there's actually, if I'm not mistaken, it's under RCW 26A, if I remember correctly. It's a relatively recent statute, not that recent, I guess, I'm just old. There's that, and then there's essentially factors such as, did you hold the child out as your own? Did one of the parents place you in a position to act like a parent? You know, like, did you take the kid to school? Did you put him to bed? Were you did you hold this child out as your own? Are you doing this for financial gain? This is interesting too. Sometimes children receive Social Security benefits. So are you trying to weasel into those? The court's going to look at that. And then finally, the court's going to look at whether or not this is in the best interest of the child for you to be a parent to this child, like a de facto parent, which is really interesting because there are the isolated cases where a child can come into this world through 2 biological parents and leave the legal process with 3 parents because of the de facto parent.
So how does Washington's parenting plan structure affect step-parents seeking custody?
Well, I mean, biological parents, one of the things is the parenting plan structure, that's one thing, but there's a case out there, Granville v. Troxel, and it actually gives biological parents very big rights to their children. I mean, you can raise your children kind of how you want and how you see fit and those types of things. So starting off, I'd say that biological parents have a tremendous advantage over non-biological parents. With that being said, if you are a biological parent and you have not seen your child for years and years, or you haven't done anything to see your child, and the other person who's a step-parent has acted as a parent for many, many years, I believe that it is in the child's best interest, oftentimes in those cases, to have another parent in their life. And so, yeah, I'd say that's really how 2626A was structured, was to allow sort of to where it could be fair. I mean, because it's just not fair to say, here, you're in this kid's life for 12 years and see ya, you're not the dad, you're not the mom. You know, even though you did everything, you love it, the kid loves you, and you're going to be taken away. That's what that law is specifically put there for that reason.
If custody is not an option, can step-parents seek guardianship or visitation rights?
That's kind of the uglier side, and sometimes it's actually easier, but it's temporary. So a guardianship would be, oftentimes you see it in chemical dependency. So you see, you know, I mean, we have a fentanyl problem in Spokane, we really do. And when people are on a drug like that, or methamphetamine or anything, even alcohol is very insidious. So when someone can't parent because of their chemical addiction, oftentimes the step-parent will come in and go, look, I'm taking your kid because I'm going to take care of this kid and you can't. So yes, a guardianship is an option. The problem with a guardianship is when they overcome their problem, whether it's addiction or something else, they get their kid back. So you could be in this guardianship for 5 years, the person could get sober and they get their kid back under a guardianship. That's why sometimes doing a guardianship to get the emergency out of the way and then doing a de facto parentage makes all the sense in the world to give you those rights as well. just the guardianship, it's great. You can do it, but once they overcome their disability, it's over.
It sounds like a tricky situation here, huh?
It is. It's
hoops.
nuanced. It's very nuanced and it's difficult. It's very difficult. I've found for pro se, we call them, just lay litigants, people like you really, like someone who's really smart and doesn't know the law. Well, it's very tricky, and it's there's a lot of little pitfalls that really can get in the way. It can also be an expensive process, but sometimes I would say doing it right up front and paying the money up front can be way less expensive than doing it wrong. Doing it wrong will generally cost you 3 times as much as it's like doing work on your house.
Mm-hmm.
You can do it yourself, and then you can pay someone 3 times as much to fix your mistake, or you can do it right in the first place, hire the correct contractor if you don't know how to do it.
If you're a step parent facing a difficult custody situation, don't navigate this alone. Visit HodsonLawOffices.com, call the number on your screen, schedule your free consultation, and get the legal support that you need. There's also a direct link below this video.